Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Sustainability Track here on African Renaissance TV with me, Mohamed Bibaji. Today's topic of discussion is the role of women in today's Africa. And to have a conversation around this, I have a very important guest with me here. Before we kickstart the conversation, I will allow him to introduce himself first, and thereafter we move on from there.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Baji. My name is Buba Sise, and first of all, I would like to say it's a pleasure to be with you today, and I will enjoy the conversation with you. Basically, my role here is to discuss, as the topic he reads, about the role of women in the development of Africa or in the society we live today. So, by profession, I'm an administrator working at Management Development Institute and at the Department of Gender and Development. And I am a right advocate when it comes to women and girls issues, as well as I'm a youth leader and a community worker as well. So thank you, Mohammed.
That's indeed a very good combination as far as the topic of discussion today is concerned. To re-elaborate that, so before we actually go into the discussion, I want us to establish a base first, and that should be interesting because, like, I have known you to be so passionate about women's affairs and then the development and then advancement of the agenda of women, which is really important. Yeah. So to go with the first question, I want to understand this. How would you describe today's women in Africa? Like, what is your ideal African woman?
Yes, my ideal description of African woman is African women are they are change agents, I believe so, that comprise a lot of things. African women are epitome of hard work. They are epitome of hope, because it's where everything starts with them, from at family level, at societal level, and even at institutional level. Women play a critical role to the well-being of society and national development. So in a nutshell, if I have to describe an African woman, I would say women, they are the king of agent. When it comes to Africa's development, they are invisible in terms of their work that they do, but in fact, they are the most indispensable part of development.
Indeed, the most indispensable part of our development as a continent. That is important. Okay, so the next one I wanted to ask is this. How vital is the role of women as the first teacher to children?
Yes, we know that basically the society we live in, women play a critical role in different aspects of our well-being. But let's narrow down everything at societal level to the family level to be specific. Like the role women play as the first teacher of our children. Because basically when you talk about teaching, it starts at home, and mothers are the first point of contact with the children. They build that moral and also the value that will be forever instilled with the person for their entire their lifespan. So for women to be part of to be the first teachers in society cannot be overemphasized, because the role they play, in fact, first they have to teach them the most accepted or the accepted behavior in society that has to do with their gender norms and the gender practice. So these things, children learn them from the time they are born, and they inbuild these things in them and becomes part and parcel of their daily life. So women are integrated, they are the teachers, and they will remain the best teachers in society. Even we can have the conventional way of teaching, but everything starts at our home level, which our mothers play a critical role on that.
Indeed, I agree to that definitely. I mean, 101%. Looking at teaching as one of the most the noblest fields of you can have. So this is a role that women naturally have, like you said, being the first point of contact, that automatically makes them that first teacher we have, which is very invaluable as far as our growth is concerned, as human beings generally.
Indeed, yeah.
And then coming to the continental level, looking at Africa, one of the most important things at societal level, not in fact going into the developmental aspect of it, it's discipline. And this is one of the things that women help to instill in us, I mean, all of us, all humankind. Indeed. And so that is indeed important, right?
Indeed. Sometimes this will go at the far length of the society. We will say when a child is good, we have to translate to everyone's honest. But when the child is bad, we have to specifically tell is the mother. So mother's role in terms of the upbringing of every child, okay, is quite important. So as you said, discipline is one of the values they instill in our children and in the society, and at a society level and at a household level as well. Yeah.
Okay, that is interesting. Okay, and so that will make me want to say this. So would you then agree when someone says developmental issues and women's issues are one and the same?
Yes, we will say. On the other hand, we can say yes, women's issue and development problems, they are all the same, because any development that is geared towards improving the lives of people, women are always going to be benefiting from it. But on the other hand, if you go deeply to societal level and also at our household level, we will realize that women have specific needs, sometimes which development doesn't cover up or doesn't captured in the process. We may all have the same development needs. May you call them, those are practical needs when it comes to shelter, nutrition, when it comes to access to education, all those, and health as well. All these things are basic needs for everyone, and women are included as well. But when it comes to the strategic needs, sometimes in most cases, these are the things that they are not captured in the process of development. So for development to be meaningful, for development to be in line with women's agenda, we have to look at the strategic needs of women. That has to do with empowerment. And when we said empowerment in this aspect is women's active participation in decision making, whether at societal level, institutional level, and even at national level. What is the representation of women in our political arena? And what is the participation of women in our socio-economic activities? All these things are calculated or should be captured in the process of development. So development has to look into the strategic needs and the basic needs as human rights for every individual in society.
That is important. When you look at women issues and the societal issues, like I said, here I'm looking at this from a positive aspect here to say, if we, as a continent, Africa, if we get the challenges of society, I mean, if we are to get these societal issues right, it means we must first have to get the women's issues right.
Yes.
If we are in a right platform to say, okay, we are attaining success as far as women engagement, women development, women empowerment is concerned, this will translate into a positive relation as far as development is concerned for the African society.
To provide more information to that, if you look at poverty, it's a development issue. If poverty is, we have to eradicate poverty in our society today, we have to look at the critical masses who are most vulnerable. And if you look at the vulnerability trend, we will find that women and children are mostly vulnerable in society. As you said, if we address the issue of poverty among women and children, solely our development problems will be solely gradually over. But unless and until we neglect that area, the development will not be sustainable or meaningful for us. So we have to address those specific needs of women and try to see development moving the desirable way that we want it to see in a society.
Indeed. And then to achieve that goal of making progress, and then as far as women issues are concerned, that we really think would translate into societal changes as a continent. One of the challenges that, or one of the questions that most people would pose is that there is a case that most people are making that in most African societies, women are strictly, there is an emphasis that women are caregivers instead of breadwinners in the family. How big a challenge is this?
Indeed, it is something that has been a societal belief, and it becomes very inherent. I mean, it becomes part and parcel of our preconceived mindset that this is where women are confined to, that is the only activity they can do to stay in the house, take care of the family, and make sure that the home is managed. So on the other hand, society expectation a man or a boy is to go outside there and bring something for the family. So this has been far too existing in our society, and it's very stereotypical because it's putting women at the disadvantaged side. We are limiting, this particular stereotype has limited the potential of women to break the social glass ceiling and make the best and achieve the society, their individual goals that they want for themselves. So this stereotype has to be, we have to outgrow it, especially among young people. For the elderly, yes, it is chronic in their system, meaning they have this mindset. It is already there. To overcome this, it will take a lifetime challenge. But among young people, we have to look into these stereotype. It is true that women can only be caregivers. Can they go outside there and do productive work that will translate to be the breadwinner of every society? But empirically, we have seen in our society we live in today, in the Gambian context, women are playing the role of being a breadwinner. For instance, in the morning, wake up 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock towards 6 o'clock in the morning, just be any of the highways in the Gambia, Serekunda, Brikama, or coming from Combo North. You bought any vehicle, commercial vehicle, most of the people that are passengers in that particular vehicle are going to be women.
Sure.
They are going to the market to bring something for the family at the end of the day. So empirically, these are not scientific evidences. But empirically, we can see by ourselves that women are becoming more breadwinners in our society than their men folk. Even though society try to designate that's household chores for them, but we are seeing that how their gender roles has been evolving over time, and by individual choices and awareness raise level, we have seen women being part and parcel of it. And if you go to the corporate world, where women are being employed and self-employed, we are seeing that women go into offices and bringing food for the family. So all those things are seen to us that women are not only meant to be housewife or to be confined within the compound to take care of the family. Alone. Yes, they are doing well in that part, but they can do better than that. So we have to break the social stereotype around the abilities or the capabilities of women in society. They can do better or more than what they are doing at home. So
for this to work out, I mean, this has to take like a designated collabo, everyone inclusive, all stakeholders. When you look at this at the country level, for instance, government has to take a stance. The society needs to be reoriented, and then women need to understand that this is what happens. Even the male counterpart should be able to have this awareness in us that whatever we can do, this is something that we can do together. And then when women are empowered, families are empowered, societies are empowered, and then this translates into the empowerment of the whole human race as in general. So it is important. I say this because this is something that even though we are still in the 21st century, with the advancement of technology, progresses that we have registered in education as a continent, we still have some part of our societies that are still, this is still deeply rooted in those societies that women should be confined within the caregiving roles, where men can go beyond to become breadwinners. But then we've seen cases where in thousands, in fact, that women, we have single parents that are women. They are still able to take care of their families. Indeed. And then most people will in fact tell you that their first mentors or the most important mentors they can have are their parents, the female especially. So it's indeed something that we need to really move on from. But to do this, what do you think we should do as a society to cope this situation?
Yes, first we need to do more of enlightenment. Enlightenment is needed. We have to break those social norms. You know, one thing remains a very deeply rooted structure and a system in our society is patriarchy, where men dominate in every aspect of society. And this particular force is limiting the potential of women. Because if men are allowed or men are expected to be leaders or to control power, access to resources and all those things, women will be only taking the back seat, and they will see that they see themselves as subordinate to men. But what we should understand is to see ourselves as partners. Men and women should see ourselves as partners in development. We cannot have sustainable development or meaningful development if both men and women do not collaborate. And for our case in the Gambia, research has shown that we have more than 51% of Gambia's population are women. So if that large majority or that majority is sidelined in the process of development, the prospect of development is going to be very slim. So unless we bring the women folk on board, we give them that capacity, that resources that they need, that education that they need, opportunities, then let them break the glass ceiling and also move forward and take their active participation to national development. First, we have to create that mindset. And creating the mindset, we have to target the young ones. Yes, as I said, it will be difficult to deal with the elderly, but the only way is to deal with the young ones, to change the mindset. Anything that is learned, we unlearn it. That this is the right way for we to build our society. Men cannot do it alone. Women as well cannot do it alone.
Yeah,
we have to collaborate. Everyone has to put your hand on deck to make sure that we move where we want to be in the next 5 or 10 years.
I like that aspect of it, because realistically, some of these are challenges that we don't really expect to have a turnaround overnight. So targeting the youthful population, it's an important step, because that way, working into the future, we will have gradually will have positive impact as far as our aims are concerned.
Yes, exactly.
Those are important.
It's
because those are really important things that we should consider. If not, we are not going to make progress in that.
Exactly.
Okay, but this is an interesting part. So before we move on from this, I would like also to take a short commercial break, and then from there, when we return, we will continue with this. Hello and welcome. This is the Sustainability Track on African Renaissance TV, and I am your host, Mohamed Dibaji. The Sustainability Track builds on the TV's mission to provide useful information to our viewership. TST airs every Tuesday at 9 p.m. on ARTV network. This show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues on sustainability in Africa.
Let's take, for example, if the people of North Bank want seedlings instead of fertilizers, what impact will fertilizers give to them?
Team Gambia College, winners of the Voice of the Youth Competition 2022.
All social problems would be eradicated within 100 years if education is standardized, promoted, and augmented. So this actually highlights the importance of education. It is a tool through which social liberation can be attained and the progress of society can be assured.
In fact, I would be so glad to say you are one of our beneficiaries.
Well, I am one of the beneficiaries of the graduate.
Exactly. So
it was really important. I really learned a great deal from it.
Exactly.
Do join me as I bring you exclusive interviews and discuss. Welcome back from that short break. If you are just watching, this is the Sustainability Track. I'm coming your way from the African Renaissance TV with me, Mohamed Bibaji. And today our topic of discussion has been the role of women in today's Africa. So, Mr. Assistant,
yes.
Like we said before going on the commercial break, the role of women is something that we cannot overemphasize.
Yeah.
It's an important part of our society. For a continent, as far as our aims are concerned, for growth and development, like you said, for sustainable development, women's agenda has to be pushed to the highest. That is important. So this next question I want to ask is, do development stakeholders, policy makers, and then all stakeholders that are involved in this, do they need to engage with faith leaders, societal leaders, and then even at the government level to have more conversations around women and then the women and women agenda generally? Do we really need to have that?
Indeed. Women issues is as any other issue as human rights issues. And it is more present than ever. We have to have all-around conversation around these issues. We have to have engagement from the top level down to the grassroots. Stakeholders should engage in a roundtable discussion and even town hall meetings to engage on the critical issues affecting women, whether it's going to be education, whether it's going to be health, whether it's going to be power in terms of women participation in politics, whether it's going to be economic participation of women for sustainable development. So it has to be a holistic approach and has to be inclusive. Everyone has a stake. The stakeholders, right from the policy makers, we expect them to come with the policies. Yes, we have to acknowledge the fact that African countries, and particularly Gambia, we have underscored achievement when it comes to coming with right policies in terms of women empowerment and gender equality. But we need more. We need to put on more strategic ways to bring women on board when it comes to development. So Gambia, as an example, we have gender policy, meaning we have a women empowerment policy, which need to be under review because it is outdated 2 years ago. We believe that government policy makers should come up with a revised version of that so that we can see that the agenda of women is on top of the list in the government, in the government development process. So that will help. And back to the societal level, and the religious leaders and even decision people shapers at community level, those people also have to be oriented about the abilities of women. It's not only within or limited to the household, but they can do bigger than that. When we discuss about some of the work that women do, is quite impressive, from reproductive work to productive work to community work. So it has to be an all-around engagement between stakeholders and decision makers, opinion shapers, and religious leaders to understand, to sensitize the general masses that it is our best interest as a society if we prioritize the needs and the rights of women and girls in development.
That is interesting, because you know, one of the things that one of the reasons why I asked this is that I think there is always some hesitation in most societies here, I mean, the African context, especially in the Gambia at some point, that there is, people will hesitate to talk about, let's say, being a male child, for instance. It sounds awkward to some people, for instance, if I am to talk about, let's say, menstruation, for instance.
Yes.
So I think topics like this, we should normalize talking about them.
Exactly.
I can walk to any supermarket to say, okay, I want to buy sanitary pads for my sister. I want to buy a sanitary pad for my child. I want to buy a sanitary pad for a woman. I want to buy a sanitary pad for a girl child.
Exactly.
But if this happens, if you do this as a male person, there is always an awkward reception to this. So to me, that is why I said, okay, do we really need to have a conversation? Do we need to involve with policymakers, religious leaders, societal leaders, to have a conversation around this at any given point, so that there is an awareness and understanding that this as important as any other topic we talk about on an everyday thing. We talk about migration, we talk about politics, we talk about education. This is as important as any of this.
It's quite important, as you said. We have to break that societal norms that these are the issues only women can discuss. These are the only issues men can discuss. But these are critical issues in society. When it comes to our well-being, we don't have to limit ourselves in terms of conversation. Everyone can discuss that. And we have to break that silence, even among the women folk or the girls. Yes. So they have to build up their self-esteem and confidence to come up. If they need a sanitary pads, they can tell their husband, I am on menses, I need sanitary pads. If you need a sanitary pads and you have a partner, a boyfriend, tell him I need a sanitary pads. These are the things that we should open up, because these are things that are natural. You don't have to keep inside you to tell because he's a man or he's a boy, I cannot explain these things to him. These are things everyone should be aware of. So the best way is to increase the awareness raising among community members. Okay, so it is part of the advocacy struggles to see that community members across the country and continental level, to see that women are sensitized, are giving them the necessary information for their self-empowerment, because you cannot have empowerment anywhere if you don't have that self-empowerment.
It has to start from within.
So to be empowered, you need the correct information. From there, you can able to come up and embrace any other empowerment outside.
This is important. Like the topic would always go to say the role of women in today's Africa. When you look at this, there is not going to be a question mark on this if someone says women are one of the most important elements as far as the beautiful part of Africa is concerned. In fact, the world all over. Like in the Gambia, for instance, we say the Gambia is the smiling coast of Africa. We say this not just because of any specifics, but then women contribute a larger chunk of this. Why we have that smiley reception as far as we are concerned. Indeed. And then even though, like we said, there are challenges, and then that we as a society must recognize first and then work towards solving and giving positive response to. Over the years, there has always been monumental roles that have been played by women in Africa, not just in the Gambia and the world over. So what are some of these roles that we think women have really played a huge role in?
Yes, and this is a very important question as far as this topic of discussion is concerned. Across the board, in every space of our society, women play a predominant role compared to men. And sometimes we discuss these roles in three categories. We have what we call a reproductive role. And when we say reproductive role, doesn't necessarily mean giving birth. It's beyond that. Women give birth, but they go beyond to do childbearing, child rearing. They take care of the babies or the children in the house. Not limited to that, even home management that has to do the daily upkeep of the house. But far from that as well, within the same category, we've seen women playing a critical role in terms of the well-being of every household. They build emotional connection among family members. So this is a fundamental role women play in every society, especially in Africa. We rely more on women when we want to build on family relations. We rely more on women when we want to have a beautiful house or a beautiful compound or a very harmonious compound. Women play a predominant role in that particular aspect. The other category is productive role. This productive role is basically women engage in both informal and formal sector to bring something for the family. Despite society expecting men to dominate this part, empirically in the Gambia, we have seen women leading when it comes to productive role. When it comes to trade, go to Serekunda market or Brikama. Predominantly women are dominating that part. Okay? When it comes to agriculture, nowadays we have more female farmers in the countries. And in most cases, their farming activities is all around the year. From the rice field to the vegetable gardening. So both in the wet season and the dry season, women are always engaged. So they always engage in agricultural sector, which they are spearheading as activity holders. You come to the other side when it comes to corporate world, where we have having an employment to work in an office. We're having women playing double role, being a mother and being a career lady, taking care of both. And at the end of the month, they have to bring something to the family as a take home. So all these things are things that are contributing to the well-being of the society. And these roles are going a long way to build the growth of families and the well-being of the society. The other aspect is the community. Women playing community work. When it comes to our social functions or our social events, we have the naming, we have the weddings. All these things, women will spearhead everything. From the organization to everything, that planning, women will play large chunk of the role or the performance of the organization than as to men. So we see that all this category from reproductive to productive, all these roles are geared towards family building or the survival of the family, to the well-being of the society, and to the socio-economic development of the country. So African women are the bedrock of our development, because despite these works, the reproductive and the productive work of women are invisible, are less valued in society, but these are work that is moving the world today.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so if these world are not given the recognition, or are not valued, or are not given the best pay that they deserve, but we have to understand that those women are really hardworking women in society.
Indeed, that is important. This goes a long way to show that when you look at statistically, when you look at the African continent, with our whatever population we have as a continent, the majority of the population is women and girls.
Yeah.
And then there is this prediction that come in some years' time, Africa's population would be almost half of the world's population.
Yes.
And for that statistics, for that huge number to have a majority of them being women, that goes a long way to show us that women's agenda, the role of women shouldn't be taken lightly, and that not even if you have a single hesitation in that will lead to a doom for every one of us here. So that is important. And then like you mentioned, we look at key roles at the continental level in various countries. Women are taking leadership roles in politics, in governments, in developments, in economics. They are really dominating. And then there is an efficiency to claim that women, when women are heading in organizations, in projects, in works, there is more efficiency in that. So those goes to so a long way at that. Looking at women's agenda and women's roles, and then to identify their roles in the society is an important one for every one of us. And then so with that, I want to make a conclusion. I don't know if you will be able to agree with me. Would you agree when I say that given those evidences, the future of Africa is positively linked to the future of women? that if we get our decisions on women's agenda right, we will get our decisions right on the production and the development of Africa in a sustainable way.
Yes, I 100% agreement with your that statement. I believe that if you give a special focus and try to remedy the problems or the challenges of our women in society, that is a pathway to the Africa's desirable development that we want. Let's look at it in our own context as a country. As I said earlier, half of the population, or more than half of the Gambia's population, are women. If that particular population is marginalized or sidelined in the process of development, we will see that the prospect of redevelopment will still be slim. We will have, because it could be safe to argue that Gambia is not doing well in development compared to other countries because of half of the population, or more than half of the population, is not actively participating in the development process. At the continental level, we have seen countries doing very well. Countries like Rwanda, Botswana, they're giving women a special priority into their national development. You look at women, the political representation when it comes to Rwanda, they have more than 56% women represented in their legislative council. So this was that, and Rwanda today in the contemporary world we are living, all African countries are using, we are using the country Rwanda as a role model to Africa's development, because of their gender or women's perspective is an integral component in their development strive. So unless Gambia also try to look in that perspective, despite we are trying to bring institutions and structures in terms of women participation in politics, I believe there is more room for improvement to see that if Gambia need to develop, or Gambia want to see the desirable development that we want or we yearn for, we have to give special attention to women's participation in politics and economic development of the country. Yeah,
that is important. If we are serious about development, we will be serious about women's agenda.
Indeed.
That is important.
Yeah, sure.
But we are running out of time, so maybe this might be our last question that we can talk about here.
Yeah.
So what would you say to the statement that women of Africa can be considered as the powerful and then the powerful untapped economic resource that we really need to have the future that we really want?
Indeed, that is quite true, because they form the majority. If they form the majority and those people are untapped, their potentials are yet to be tapped, then we still have a long way to go. Unless we believe in them, we believe that they can do better as men are doing, then there we will lead to our dream destination. So Africa should see women as an integral, indispensable element of the development that we yearn for. So we have to look at the critical role women are playing in there. When it comes to, let's say, when it comes to socio-economic development, those activities within the economic sector, especially both informal and formal way, we say women contributing more to the economic growth of a country. But in most cases, even the GDP that we calculate every year, the efforts of women are not put into consideration. So all those things need to come on board. And policymakers must understand that if we don't incorporate the interest, the needs, the concerns and the experience of women in our policies, our programs and our projects for development, then we will not be there as we want. So women are the future of Africa, for the basis that they are the majority and still they have a lot to offer to national and continental development.
Women indeed hold an important role, not just in the Gambia, but at Africa at large, and then their roles are roles that need to be recognized, and there is a very important need to create that avenue for them to excel in, and that is going to be like a plowback profit to the whole continent.
Exactly.
That whenever a woman succeeds, it's like a family succeeds.
Exactly.
This entails men and then the children. So it's important that we really focus on what their needs are. There are challenges when it comes to policies, there are challenges when it comes to societal beliefs, there are challenges when it comes to the confidence, especially in women sometimes themselves.
I agree,
but collectively, I always hold this belief that we can do it collaboratively, like you said, coming together as one and understanding that there is a need for us to reorient ourselves as a society, as a continent, that we can forge ahead and we will be able to attain success in this. I'm afraid this is what all time has permitted us, but before we go, we'll take some quick remarks from you ahead of the International Day of Women, that is on the 8th.
Yeah, we are looking forward to the, on Wednesday, the world will be celebrating the achievement of women regarding when it comes to socio-economic development, culturally and politically. How far women has contributed to, as we said, societal development and national and continental development and global development as a whole. So the world will have that somber reflection at continental level, individual level, and societal level, and even institutional level, to see how far in terms of women empowerment across all sectors in development. So it's a day aside for women to celebrate their achievement, but also it's a day also to remind policymakers how far for women's development in Africa across the world.
Those were good remarks from Mr. Buba Sise, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation to come on the Sustainability Track here on the African Renaissance TV, and we look to have more conversations with you in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
This was all that we have for you today here on the Sustainability Track, coming your way from the African Renaissance TV with me, Mohammed Bibaj. Stay in touch until we come your way next Tuesday with a lot more important topics to talk about as far as development is concerned, and sustainable development for that matter is concerned in the African perspective. Until then, watch out for more interesting programs coming your way from the African Renaissance TV. This episode was being broadcasting from you in the Gambia at the Badala Beach Hotel here in the Kotu. And then until we come your way, bye-bye.